How can I value myself when others don't value me or the work that I do? And I can't tell you how many times I think about this. And because I've thought about it a lot, here are multiple answers. So, determine how you can quantify the value of your work and track it. And if you're in a repository now, I have a whole webinar on strategies for how to capture and communicate the value of collection work. So go check that out on my YouTube channel. But if you are not currently employed, quantifying the value of the skills that you have and chronicling those. So either way, keeping a record of your value in that way. Next, reflect on other parts of your life where you give value and or are acknowledged for the value you bring. So we tend to derive most of our value and self-worth, at least for me, from my job. There are other ways to get that value. First of all, valuing yourself, and then getting value from the community that you live in. So friends and family, but also volunteering. When I was unemployed and figuring out what I was going to do next, I volunteered at a couple different places. Some of it was even volunteering that had nothing to do with my former career. So that giving back, giving value, no matter what that is, tracking that and reflecting on where that exists beyond just the job. Next, write down all of the achievements and successes you've had despite lack of acknowledgement. And this was hard for me, being younger and entering the field and working in places where doing a good job was either not noticed or was perceived as a threat, which is like a whole other mind trip and another webinar that we could probably talk about. But um, sometimes you're just not in a place where other people are going to acknowledge or want to acknowledge the good work that you're doing, but that doesn't mean that it's not happening. So writing down and acknowledging yourself and the great work that you're doing, the wins that you're having, your successes, track all of that and acknowledge all of that for yourself. Ask trusted colleagues to define your valuable qualities. And maybe that's in the form of a LinkedIn recommendation, or maybe that is asking them to write a brief email or have a coffee chat with you. But if you're not getting it from someone like your boss, or if you're unemployed, like communicating with current and past colleagues that you have worked well with, getting their reflections of your valuable qualities will help to reflect some things that maybe you weren't aware of, that you didn't even realize you were doing, that others perceive as so valuable. And it helps to solidify for you that it's not just you, or it's not just your boss who's ignoring you. There are people that see your worth. Another thing I encourage you to do, and is something that I was doing, was I was advocating and fighting for my own literal value while working in traditional work, is what is the valuation you would give yourself based on your job role and achievements? What is that actual number? What is that salary range? And how can you advocate for that number? So whether you're in a job now and you're trying to make the case for better compensation, or if you are in the job search and searching for jobs with salary ranges that fit for yourself and doing the negotiation process, you will need to have, before you do any of those things, you will need to know what your value is. Because the people on that other end, whether it's your boss or the hiring manager, the numbers that they have are not always accurate, nor are they great. These are job types, and this is a field where we are chronically devalued. And hiring managers, whether they are malicious or whether they don't know better, it is up to you to be your best advocate, and it is up to you to know what your literal value on the market is and be prepared with that number. So figure that one out. I did it based on other people in the area, other jobs similar to mine in the geographic area, as well as looking at government classification systems, looking at history associates, which because they're federal contractors, they have salary, like a whole salary table based on experience and number of years in the field. So there are resources you can use to figure out that number. And then lastly, meditate on the idea that you are the only one who can make the final decision on how valuable you are. So whether or not you can get your boss to pay you your worth, whether or not you were able to negotiate successfully in the job negotiations, that doesn't mean you're less valuable. And that is something that is really up to you and what you think and what you're willing to put up with.